what do you call me?
It's McDonald's Dinosaurs Happy Meal with one of 6 posable Dynamotion-powered dinosaur toys, like everybody's favorite,
Let me guess.
Baby. One toy with every Happy Meal you buy.
Sea of mouth-watering Twizzlers. Chewy. Tastes so fruity. I love it when it twizzles. Twizzlers makes mouth happy.
Class, do you believe in magic? And I hope you do. You'll always have a friend wearing big red shoes. Wait, why aren't you guys singing? We're hummingbirds.
We'll be right back. Now, back to our program. We'll be right back.
Roseanne, 5 nights a week at 7 o'clock.
Super Sci-Fi Saturday is continuing on Fox.
That can be so wicked. Truth. It's just easier.
Kids, run to Toys R Us today and pick up this free Fox Kids Network poster. Plus, enter to win a Toys R Us shopping spree for 4. Keep watching Fox to find out how you can win.
We're here to celebrate a different way to eat Jell-O gelatin. With our bare hands. All we need, cookie cutters, this easy recipe, and we've got jigglers!
Jiggle, 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 those jigglers. Jiggle, 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 those jigglers.
The recipe's on the box. Jigglers, they're a handful of fun. Hey, put that back.
This painting is magnificent.
How did the artist do it? It's easy.
Mix and Spin lets you create fantastic art. Just pump it up and add the easy squeezy paints to make colorful paintings. Only Mix and Spin lets you drip it, brush it, even create your own special colors.
Let us try.
Paint with Mix and Spin.
It's easy.
Nickelodeon Mix and Spin comes with easy squeezy brushes from Mattel.
Let's go racing! It's Super Mario Kart Funny Car Madness! Only on Super NES. Turn the track into a giant mud pit. Or burn rubber on ice, wood, or asphalt. Wild! Mix it up for the big boys. See Bowser in his big foot-dropping truck. See Yoshi's go-kart really go. Mushrooms, banana peels, turtle shells. Dynamite! Check your rear view and make him eat dust. Or go into battle mode and ruin his day. 2 speeds. Fast and way too fast. It's 2-player fun on the split screen. Only for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Now you're playing with power. Super power.
Chuck E. Cheese is looking like a cute. Have more fun than you can. Giggle flippy of it. Woo! Chuck E. Cheese, where keep them. Kids! Cut.
Good boys play with toy trucks.
Bad boys play with real trucks.
Good boys jump.
Bad boys fly.
Now you be a good boy.
And come watch the bad boys run.
It's the Ford U.S. Hot Rod All-American Pulling Series.
Bigfoot.
Grave Digger. Cycle Wars and more. Friday is Fox 53 and the new 22's Family Night at the Races. Bring the whole family. All kids are just $8. That's right, only $8. February 19th and 20th. Civic Arena.
You guys eating Kellogg's Apple Jacks? Duh. But it doesn't taste like apples. So, and you like it? Duh. Why? We just do, okay?
Happily Cinnamon Apple Jacks is part of this complete breakfast. You can't explain its great taste, so I try.
Kellogg's Apple Jacks. We just get it.
Know how to get the invincibility star? You will. Strategy maps on marked boxes of Kellogg's Apple Jacks give you the edge in 6 Nintendo games. I'm invincible.
Having fun fishing?
You bet.
Hey, guys, breakfast!
Let's go, Grandpa.
You got it.
Come on, I want my Kellogg's Corn Pops. Stay calm. Is there a problem?
Looks like we may have to catch our breakfast.
Ha ha, this isn't funny. Oh, like sweet popcorn, there's never enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of the We Grew Up Better live stream, the nostalgic podcast live stream, yacky, wacky, talking bit where we just, wax nostalgic about all things our glory days of the 80s and 90s. With me, as always, Adam and Jordan from Complete Geek TV. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing tonight?
We are doing fantastic.
Yeah,
How's everyone else doing?
Doing great. You guys get over your sickness? I know there's a lot of that going around. This, tis the season to sniffle and cough and sputter.
Yeah, I'm actually still a little sniffly right now, but I'm surviving.
It's lingering. It's like a month on and off for me. That's been going crazy.
I think between my kids and my wife, we're like circling it around each other.
Trade it off
Yep.
for sure. All right, so obviously you already know tonight's topic. We're talking about the X-Men. Didn't really want to specifically focus only on the animated series because there was a lot of things going on in the 90s. So we'll be covering a lot of bases, and there'll still be a lot of stones unturned because obviously the X-Men is a very broad topic. But we'll be covering the animated series, of course. Everybody's familiar with that. Some of our favorite X-Men video games. There was a lot of good ones. We'll leave the bad ones for another day because there's plenty of those.
Quite a few of those too.
Yeah. And then some other things going on in pop culture. So right out of the gate, we'll get started with some quick facts about the X-Men, just in case for whatever reason people don't know their X-Men stuff. First of all, the story, the X-Men name, well, it wasn't always the cool X-Men. Originally, the Marvel bosses that would be tried to get Stan Lee to call them the Merry Men or the Merry Mutants. But luckily, he won that battle.
He said no on that one.
Yeah, won that battle, but they wanted to change the title because they didn't think anybody would understand.
Did you see the new episode of the Merry this week?
Exactly. Didn't think anybody would understand what the word mutant meant in 1963. So X-Men was introduced instead of the funky Merry Mutants. Dodged a bullet there. Oh my. Yeah. Next up, this is, for better or worse, something that exists. It's one of those things you say out loud and it doesn't sound like it could be a real thing, but it is. So Star Trek, The Next Generation, and X-Men had a crossover comic in 1998. The book chronicles the first encounter between Captain James T. Kirk and the crew of the Enterprise during a 5-year mission on the original series, and members of the X-Men who traveled through a dimensional rift chasing the mutant Proteus. Yeah.
So they are part of the same universe, actually.
In
X-Men
some way,
and Star
shape,
Trek.
or form. In the very short-lived internal print they had for Paramount Comics that was under the Marvel banner. Only one issue, but it was a 64-page special issue, so lots to go on. But it just
interesting.
It exists. That's all you got to say.
Yeah, I'm digging that Sentinel in the background who just looks like he's in absolute shock. That
he's just got the
crossover between
weird dental apparatus in his mouth. Yeah.
Catching him there?
What's this?
Yeah.
The Sentinel. He's this guy. Just look for this, Jordan.
Right there.
There it is. You're the Sentinel. Yep.
All right. The original X-Men team, it was made up of Beast, Iceman, Angel, Cyclops, and Marvel Girl. Marvel Girl, if you're not familiar, was Jean Grey, her original name. But that's what they looked like in 1963. Pretty underwhelming costumes, but again, it's 1963. And Beast, as you can see right there, is in his human form. So got that going for him.
Professor staying nice and warm under his
always had that blanket.
Yeah. His feet looked like they were starting to change a little.
Hobbit feet.
Starting to change.
There.
Yeah. No, that's it's Beast. That's just getting there. Wolverine, the most famous X-Men of them all, arguably. Well, guess what? He wasn't part of the X-Men until 1975, mainly due to the fact that he wasn't even a character until 1974. He was first appearance was the Incredible Hulk in 1974. He was originally going to be called the Badger. That was his original character name. Luckily, they scrapped that and they went with Wolverine because it sounds a lot cooler than the Badger.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But ever since then, he's been, like I said, pretty much the mainstay, arguable, most famous X-Men. Probably even outpaces Professor Xavier as far as people's knowledge and experience. Appreciate that so much. We got a little super chat from Biggie D's Arcade at the beginning of the show when the opening was playing. He said this was his favorite animated show growing up, and he could draw all the characters. So
that's awesome.
Very impressed with that, because there's professional artists that couldn't draw these characters worth a damn. Looking at you, Rob Liefeld, he's an amazing artist until it comes to feet. So
that's where it all.
Yeah, for whatever reason, he's never. Never learned how to draw the human and anatomical feet. So almost literally every art you see of Rob Liefeld, it's like everybody's got pouches on top of pouches, and then everything's strategically cut off to get rid of their feet.
Yeah, kind of like Derek Zoolander can't turn left.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Oh man. All right. One of the most well-known facts that isn't actually a fact is that Professor Xavier and Magneto were supposed to be created as allegories for Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. While there are some obvious similarities between the characters, it's one of the most widely reported facts that isn't actually true. Stan Lee did not create these characters to be direct references or influences of the civil rights activists. Just one of those things where people said, hey, there's a good guy and a bad guy that are, fighting to, in one way, shape, or form, combat oppression, which obviously aligns with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, different stylistic approaches. But they weren't created to be carbon copy comic versions or variations of that. Even though that's literally, if you Google that, you will find 10,000 articles that all say the same thing. But when literally directly asked, they're like, no, we didn't do that as an intentional thing. So just one of those things that sounds great on paper, sounds cool as a story headline or something like that, but in reality, not true.
Yep.
And then, strange fact, the original X-Men #1, well, guess what? It premiered the exact same month as the Avengers #1 comic book.
Oh, yeah. They're doing it.
Yeah. September 1963 was a big month for comics historically.
They're two biggest franchises of all time. Just
casually throwing them out on a random month of September. Yeah. And prior to that, it's hilarious that no one really had kind of thought to team up superheroes, because that's essentially what both teams were. The X-Men and the Avengers is like, let's get all these individual heroes, combine them, and surely that'll appeal to audiences, right? Sure enough, they were correct. And speaking of mass appeal, 1991's X-Men comic was written by Chris Claremont and illustrated by Jim Lee. And according to the Guinness Book of World Records, it is the best-selling comic book of all time, sold over 8.1 million copies. It's also partially responsible for a lot of the bad things that were going on in the speculation 1990s comic book bubble burst. This was one of those things that had multiple issues, multiple reissues, and people bought in droves and hoarded and thought it was going to be worth millions upon millions of dollars, because people were always trying to speculate what that new, Action Comics #1 was going to be. So a lot of the comic book publishers in the 90s just kept reissuing and restarting franchises at #1 so they could appeal to those speculators and sell massive amounts of copies. But
it worked.
It did work until it didn't, and the entire industry almost went kaput because of it. But it is a pretty sweet series. Claremont was the writer for the first 3 issues, and Jim Lee art is just going to be magnifique.
Yeah.
So it's a good combo.
That cover looks absolutely incredible.
Yep.
I mean, how many riblets does Magneto have right there? That's quite a bit.
He's pretty ripped for an old man.
He really is.
Yeah.
He's grown some extra muscles that might not exist in real life.
All right, so we got to ask everybody in the chat. We got a couple questions to answer, but I want to know, who's your favorite X-Men character? So if you got a favorite X-Men, it doesn't have to be somebody that's on the team. Could be villain, hero, you name it. Let me know in the chat who's your favorite X-Men. I will tell you my personal favorite X-Men is Gambit. Wolverine's cool. He's badass. Gotta love him, but I just like Gambit. He appeals more to my personality than Wolverine. What about you guys? You guys got a favorite?
Oh, Gambit. Followed very closely by Rogue and Magneto. So
there you go.
I don't know why I always liked Cyclops. I remember taking one of my sister's headbands and putting it over my eyes many times as a kid, pretending I had laser eyes.
Yep.
Don't know why, I just thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Not really any other reason. Just thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Matthew, I gotta know: are you talking about Storm with her long flowing hair? Or are you talking about Storm with the mohawk? Because there's been a couple mainstay looks that she's had over the years in the comics, but the mohawk and the long flowing hair are typically the two images you get the most. And no judgment if you go with the mohawk. I'm just curious. We got a little bit of everybody. We got Colossus, Nightcrawler, blue and yellow Wolverine. I love that you distinguish that, because there was the brown and yellow, and there's blue and yellow. Jay Heath has been collecting Gambit merch for 30 years. Good stuff. Nondosa Storm, Nightcrawler, crying on the toilet. That's a great username. Always liked Cyclops, although I named my 130-pound American Bulldog Gambit. There you go. 90s Storm and Rogue. Nightcrawler's up there. Gambit, he's notoriously overpowered. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he's underpowered when you hold him up against people like Storm and Magneto. And that's just, right off the tip of the dome. Gambit all the way. Phoenix is amazing. Yeah, there you go. Psylocke. Yeah. Betsy Braddock. Yeah.
Were you ever annoyed that in most, I know we're going to get to this in games, though, that Gambit didn't throw a card? He just walks around with his staff. I'm like, can we not use power?
I mean, first of all, I like that. So the good thing about Gambit carrying the staff, and this is something that the running gag with Hawkeye, is that Gambit at least has a backup when he doesn't have something to throw. Like Hawkeye, he runs out of arrows, he's useless. Gambit's got a staff and some martial arts skills, so he can fight at least. I guess you could argue that Hawkeye could try to beat people up with a bow, but it's definitely not the same as the bow staff.
No, that's
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. Comic superpowers, all that. It's hard to translate in a video game. Like we talked about, why a Superman game fails all the time. Because if it was realistic to Superman's power levels, you would just press A and win the game because he's freaking Superman. So it's hard to give these action comic heroes and villains accurate depictions in video game franchises, because it's so hard to nerf their powers on an appropriate level to where it's a fun playing game. I guess it's the only way to describe it. So
they should make one where all you do have to push is A, and it just takes everyone down. Just to see how well it does.
Roll credits. Yeah. All right. So follow-up question: what is the best mutant power or the most impressive? You gauge however you want. Me personally, I'm going to say it's a tie between Storm and Magneto. Magneto, as a kid, I was just like, oh, whoopity doo, you control metal. And then as I grew into an adult and everything, I quickly realized just how intricate and involved metal is in literally almost anything and everything you can think of, whether you truly think of it as a metal or not. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of a badass power to have. You could literally decimate all of existence, pretty single-handedly. And same thing with Storm, controlling of the weather, for crying out loud.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same as Act 2.
I was going to say, I'd have to agree with Magneto. He's awesome. It's almost. I mean, as you've seen in certain cartoons and in the more recent movies and stuff. We have metal in our bodies, so he can even mess with people that way. It's
would Toad be your second pick? Okay, well.
I would agree. I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, Nightcrawler, that's pretty sweet. The teleportation for sure. Downside is he walks around looking like an elf, and he's got a freaking tail. So, yeah, you get the raw end of the stick on that one for sure. But it's still an awesome power. Morph's a good one too. That's another top tier as far as practical. I mean, you can shapeshift into pretty much anybody. That's pretty dope. I mean.
Yeah, that could be very useful. Mm-hmm. It's not powerful in the sense of strength.
No,
but it's powerful in the
espionage.
Espionage, that's the word I was going for too.
Jubilee.
John wants to know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning.
Ooh, I like it.
Yep. Anybody? Bueller?
The same thing that happens to everything. It's something along those lines. I forgot the exact quote from the movie, but it's something along those lines. The same thing that happens to everything else.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. So we're going to be talking about the X-Men animated series, obviously. But before we do that, we got to start with the origins of the X-Men animated series. Whether you're aware of it or not, it didn't really start out in 1992. It actually started out in 1989 with this, The Pride of the X-Men. This was their first foray, and this was the TV pilot. You can find it on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's worth watching. It's on par with the 1992 series, if you ask me, as far as the animation and everything. But intro's good, but it's not 1992 X-Men intro. But check it out if you've never seen it before.
Okay, losses. Oh, good old Blob.
Nothing hurts the Blob. So it's a catchy tune.
I like how in the 80s and 90s the theme song had to literally say,
yeah, explain in
yes,
detail.
Magneto's powers are awesome, and they're like, it's like,
Yeah.
had to
That's
actually
true.
like
That's true.
explain the characters, not just be music or a song. Like,
Yeah. And you are correct, crying on the toilet. So if you looked at a snippet or a screenshot from that, there was a nice little side shot of all the characters in line. And yes, the awesome Konami beat 'em up arcade from 1992 is literally based upon this Pride of the X-Men TV show pilot. They took the same lineup that was from that pilot, same art style, same coloring, everything, and they put them in there. Pride of the X-Men, it was supposed to be a play on Kitty Pryde. She was going to be a main focusing character in the series, which is kind of sad because, like I said, they made the entire Konami beat 'em up game based on that show, but it never got off the ground. And Kitty Pryde is not a playable character. She just plays a very small portion of like a cameo of getting captured in there. So it's funny, but appreciate the super chat, Matthew. Another funny tidbit about the Pride of the X-Men TV pilot is the only way it was actually paid for was that they canceled a 13th episode for the RoboCop animated series. So it had a season 1 of 12 episodes. It was supposed to have a 13th episode, and they conned them to cut that out and give them that money to go out to Toei Animation Studios and pay for that Pride of the X-Men. So
good choice.
If you wanted that 13th episode of RoboCop, you can blame the X-Men.
yeah.
And that's, yeah, I totally agree with this statement. It's like, what's nuts is the game got popular after the show. Yeah. It was just kind of perfect timing because, like, Konami was like, hey, we started working on this. It took us a while. The TV show that we based this off never really worked. And then, lo and behold, 1992, X-Men animated series comes out. All these people start giving X-Men fever, and they're like, oh, wait, there's this cool arcade game where I get to play some of the characters I've seen in that show. So, very cool stuff. Bear from South Carolina, thank you for the super chat. It says, I have a 4-player Konami X-Men cab. Only thing better is the 6-player. And yes, that 6-player is a thing of dreams with the double CRT and the mirror effect to make it look like a widescreen. I remember playing one of those at the local arcade and just thinking, what the hell is this monstrosity? It was amazing because, like, its control panel was so deep, especially as a kid. You just felt like you were a mile away, even from the double CRT screen. It was very, very cool stuff to see for the first time.
Did you ever get a chance to play the 6-player one?
I don't know if I did.
Dude.
That sounds awesome.
Oh,
though.
yeah. Just 2 CRTs side by side. It is massive.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yep. Individual joysticks, coin doors, stickers, everything. I mean, it's magnifique, but it's also, like I said, a freaking monstrosity. It's not just a refrigerator. It's 2 refrigerators tied together.
Yep.
Tied together. And, of course, that kicked off, a lot of lines of toys and everything. 1991, Toy Biz had started producing some X-Men action figures. A lot of awesome stuff came from Toy Biz. A lot of these early X-Men action figures, though, rough around the edges, to say the least. But you be the judge.
X-Men, the evil mutants plan their attack. As Juggernaut harnesses his battering ram, Magneto reveals his magnetic force. But waiting are the X-Men. Wolverine flashes.
Wolverine's detachable mask was like the dumbest thing ever.
I
remember
know.
Even as a kid, I was like, "This is stupid." He's like wearing a Mardi Gras
That
mask.
was so easy to break.
It was.
Especially with those plastic rings.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like back then they always had to have some weird gimmick to the toys. Like, you remember the Power Rangers that the heads flipped around?
Automorphin.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like I love that they integrated variations of the powers. Like Magneto was cool. He literally had a magnetic chest. Like I had literally every single one of these toys in this picture.
Same.
The downside was like he looked like super emaciated, and like as we already saw in the comic book, like you got Jim Lee drawing Magneto like Mr. Universe, and then I come home and I buy this toy, and like he looks like a 60-year-old man that needs Ovaltine because he's suffering from osteoporosis. Like, and then Wolverine, like I said, he's got that detachable mask, which literally had like a ring, like you could wear it as a ring. It was so silly because it just had like little riblets that would go around his head. He looked like Dollar General Batman mask. Cyclops had light up eyes, so that was cool.
That was cool. Yep.
Apocalypse again,
giant thing that he lifted, or
the giant like boulder bicep, barbell thing. Juggernaut looks awesome. Apocalypse again looks like he's on that same osteoporosis diet because you see him in the comics and he's like 8 foot tall and 4 foot wide, and then here he's like the same size as Magneto and next to Juggernaut. You're just like, what the heck's going on?
Dude, that Archangel is pretty cool. You know where the missiles
shoot out
of the
missile shooting out the wings.
Cool one.
Yeah. They did a great job on some of these. But fortunately, after the X-Men animated series kicks off, they started making them more in that vein, and they look so much better. But all right, now we need a moment of silence. And I say that not as, a remembrance or anything like that, or a sad connotation, but I want absolute silence for what is arguably the best cartoon intro of all time. And something I probably want played at, my wake or funeral or something like that. Yeah. Let's go with the X-Men animated series 1992 Fox Kids special.
The Badger.
Man, that thing just slaps. Oh,
see, they didn't need words.
No, they didn't. And like, it does such a good job of like in a short condensed period. Number one, giving you like a brief introduction to each character, kind of an idea of what their power is. Like, they don't waste any time in this. Like, even the pilot episode, like right out of the gate, like you just start with, hey, here's the characters. You already know what they are, what they do. Like they don't bottle feed you or spoon feed you or wait, 8 episodes to explain, hey, this guy can, charge up kinetic energy into a card or a deck of cards. This is how they met or anything like that. It's just like ready, set, go.
Before you make a final decision on that, though, think about Beast has large. Jubilee shoots, fireworks. I mean,
you're saying it would have been, they should have added that?
Yeah.
No, I feel like the guitar did a good job.
Yeah.
We didn't need
was
singing there.
Roast Beaver, but we chose Wolverine instead.
Bad Guy says, still gets my blood flowing 25 years later. Matthew Marino says, oops, clicked on the wrong one. Yeah, my only complaint is the soundtrack isn't longer. Yeah, like you just put that on loop for 36 hours. I'm good with that.
Oh yeah,
that guitar riff just nails it.
Yeah, we just talked about how that's one of the
build,
few,
the crescendo.
Yeah, it's one of the few intros we will not skip watching a show.
Yeah, like we were talking before the show started. You can watch the X-Men animated series in its entirety on Disney Plus. You start an episode and it has a little bubble at the bottom right corner. It says skip intro. I'm like, this should be immediately outlawed They should
play intro twice.
Yeah, remove that as an option. How dare you, sir? How dare anybody skip that intro?
Dude, I love Storm's electricity hit, like with the beat. Oh, yeah.
Crackle. Yeah.
Yes.
And then like the end where it's like the face off, the 50-50 split, good versus evil, the brotherhood of, evil mutants. And then it goes boosh. Love it. Love it. Love it. Unique animation for sure. Much different than everything else that was on television at the time as far as the style. Whitney Houston, I'll be your baby tonight. Yeah.
Someone was saying something else about Whitney Houston up farther.
Paul was asking if we already asked the question about who's everybody's favorite X-Men. So yeah, you missed that one, but he said his is Wolverine. Can't go wrong with Wolverine. Jean Grey as her X-Men alias. Jean Grey. Like I said, she tried to have an alias at the very beginning of the comics. She was Marvel Girl, which is not a great name, and started to get confusing with Miss Marvel and all the type of stuff that was already going on. But it is what it is. Jay Heath says X-Men 97 is, Brian talking to Jay Heath says X-Men 97 is going to be made by Disney. Yep, comes out next year. And it's, saying Master Dumpster Fire Corporation, but they're also footing the bill and giving us a continuation of this animated series. So if you're not aware, we're getting a literal direct continuation by the original creators of this X-Men 92 series. It's going to be called X-Men 97, which is when it essentially stopped.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be literally picking up where they left off with the original creators. So I'm excited for it.
It is the original creators, like.
Yes, the original showrunners. That
they didn't hire a bunch of new people to ruin it.
I mean, there's new children in sweatshops drawing it, I'm sure. But other than that, other than that, it's supposed to be the same creative teams. I loved this series. Obviously, it was the perfect spot for my childhood, youth, and time frame. But like, it holds up so well even to this day.
Yeah.
Like, it took so many of the best X-Men comic storylines, adapted it for television, obviously toned some of it down for younger audiences, and I get that and I'm okay with that. But so much of it like holds up. Like, and right out of the gate, season 1, like you get some banger storylines, you get Night of the Sentinels, you get Days of Future Past in season 1, for crying out loud. Like, that's one of the best comic storylines of all time. And it's like, hey, we're like 6 episodes into the first season, we're gonna nail you with this awesome storyline that's, one of the best X-Men stories in comics ever. And we're just going to dole this out to you like it ain't no thing. It's not. We're not even waiting for sweeps week.
I loved it. Yeah. It went just straight in.
Any favorite moments or series parts that you could think of, whether it be storylines or just bits?
I mean, I thought, first off, I absolutely loved Juggernaut as a villain. So I thought the Juggernaut versus Colossus.
Yeah,
like in there too was just an awesome episode.
Like episode 3 or 4 or something like that.
Yeah,
like instruction set, like
same
that early
with
on.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
The Phoenix saga was really cool too.
Nothing that I can think of specifically. I remember watching the show, but I don't remember it being one that it was like I watched quite as much as others growing up. Not that I disliked it or anything, but like I said, I do remember watching it. So I can't think of any like specific, and I haven't really watched it since as an adult either. But
well, there's no excuse.
I'm sorry. Now I know where it is. So
it was the Gambit Rogue date episode.
Oh yes, yeah.
I know. Yeah. But Paul here says X-Men After Dark with Cyclops and Jean Grey. I missed that one.
Yeah, Papa Brad says X-Men holds up because they picked the best of the comics, and I agree. Fernando says Days of Future Past was fire. Absolutely agree. There's your X-Men After Dark. ... Cyclops and Jean Grey with Wolverine crying in the corner. Oh man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was falling off at that time with Mikey using the ropes instead of nunchucks. And you're right, that was like for me. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had kind of like started to wind down and disappear and kind of overstayed its welcome by 94 specifically, I remember. So I transitioned like my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like passion into X-Men passion. Like I still had all my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures, played with them, but like it was something new, it was something fresh. Like I've been reading comics at the grocery store with, mom and dad, they go to the store, I'd go straight to the magazine rack and start reading comics. So like I'd already been obsessed with the X-Men as heroes. So getting to see them in animated, Saturday morning cartoon spectacular on a weekly basis was phenomenal. I hated Jean Grey's outfit, flesh colored. I mean, it is special. Her weird headdress thing, it was always kind of something that cracked me up. It was like Gambit's head wrap type thing. It was like, hey, let me cover my entire head except for my face and my hair, because why not?
Yeah, why not? No, so my I don't know if you remember me telling you this, but my dad was a massive comic book guy. He had all the originals of Avengers, X-Men, Spider-Man. So my grandparents unfortunately sold them all off. He kept them all sealed, pristine. So pretty sad story there. But my dad would read to me comics as a kid, so I was really into it as a young kid. It was really cool to know all the characters, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're doing an X-Men show. And I was already hooked before the show even came on, just because the love of comics. Same with when they started doing the Avengers and everything else on TV. But dude, I mean, that show. So not only did I have the excitement, but man, the show lived up to it. It was incredible.
Yep. Brian says Cal Dodd is to Wolverine what Kevin Conroy is to Batman, which he's also coming back to voice Wolverine in the X-Men 97 continuation series. So, like I said, they're trying to get everybody back that they could. Unfortunately, the voice of Cyclops we lost a couple of years ago, so they'll have to recast that one. But they're bringing back everybody that made the show special as much as they possibly can. My favorite episode / story was the Phoenix Saga. It was a 5-episode, arc in season 3, which, I mean, for them to dedicate 5 episodes to a show is absolutely phenomenal. It was actually supposed to be the series finale of the show, and then they got a call late into it. Oh, by the way, we're going to keep
going.
Yeah, just keep going. So just write some more stories. It's like, hey, you're fired, but it's like, not really. Keep going. Keep going. So if you wonder why things start to get a little off the rails in season 4s and 5, and the quality seems to dip, there was a lot of changes behind the scenes. They changed production studios, production houses. A lot of the creative people that were running the show had been let go and or walked away for creative reasons. So the last 2 seasons of the X-Men animated series, definitely not as good quality-wise as the first 3, but either way, it's still more than presentable in today's audience. And I think people should just watch the entire 5-episode or 5-season offering they have on Disney Plus. It's worth it for sure.
Yep.
And we also got lots of awesome toys and tie-ins. Some of them we talked about previously with the pizza continuation, but let me show you one of the greatest contests that I never won. And I never won any contest, but gentlemen, how excited would you have been to win this?
How'd you like to win the Ultimate X-Men contest?
I do not believe it.
Well, believe it, because here's your chance to win not only all 12 X-Men home videos and a Marvel comic, but also your own real-life X-Men arcade game.
Oh.
A game of one-on-one. Sure. Now you can play the full-size X-Men arcade game without ever leaving home.
I'll teach you to invade my universe.
There's more. 250 others will win their own complete X-Men home video library and a Marvel comic. To enter, send a postcard with your name and address to Fox X-Men Home Video Manual.
Yeah.
P.O. Box 230, Los Angeles.
I'll take it.
That seems like a great price.
Must be in by June 29th, or
all bets are off.
I distinctly remember filling out no less than 30
oh man
things, mailing them up, like having the stack of postcards or whatever, mailing them off. Like it was a big to-do because like the post office was like 15 miles away from the house or whatever, and my parents were super pissed off that I had conned them into taking me to the post office. And I don't even remember where I got the stamps because I had to get like 30 stamps or whatever. But I remember there was a discussion about things cost money and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, but it's an arcade machine.
Trust me, guys.
We could have one in
easily
our
make
house.
this money back. Yeah.
We could
And
have
that was
one
the
in
thing,
our
like,
house,
I didn't
man.
even live in a house. I was poor white trash. I was living in a freaking trailer for crying out loud. So I had
easy. Yeah,
poor
easy.
white trash Doug won the X-Men arcade. Like, they're not going to put an arcade machine in our trailer.
Put it out front, guys.
Like,
It's okay.
Yeah, it's still worth it.
It would have been.
We don't need a couch.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Oh man,
that's awesome. I did not ever see that.
But,
I like the dedication there.
I think we missed a super up here a
Oh,
little earlier.
there we go.
Jay Heath.
Sorry. Yeah, Jay Heath says, I have 3 original Gambit cells from the animated series framed on my wall. Damn straight. You were doing it right, sir.
I like it.
I've been to a million comic book conventions over the years, and every once in a while there is a vendor that'll sell like animation cells, and they'll have them, categorized in like individual folders by series. And every time I see something that's like Spider-Man animated series, X-Men animated series, Power Rangers or something, not Power Rangers, but a series is like true near and dear to my heart. There's nothing in that folder, or there's nothing under that like little header. I'm like, damn it, somebody already got here. But I'm sure probably charging a pretty penny for them, but as they should, because this is Americana.
So I still have all my originals, but we do want to point out how amazing these
the new stuff. Yeah.
Oh man, it's incredible.
Well, they're not necessarily like reissues. They're like new figures on the
that's
old,
very true.
Old Toy Biz looking card backs. Yeah.
Yes. And so I want to point this out that my dad, so awesome. I had to keep these sealed because I still have the originals, but I could not find Gambit in the store to save my life when I was a kid. Not that I could check. I didn't have a car. But my dad would always take Toys R Us and stuff to check, and he used to do it like every day after work. I didn't know this. Finally found it, gave it to me. It's like such a big deal. I got the new one, and then I got me Rogue for Christmas one year, and it was the fastest I've ever opened up something in my life. I was like just to have those 2 figures. It's like the biggest joke till this day was how fast I opened that. But dude, these are incredible.
They really are.
Yeah.
They've been doing that with the X-Men. They've been doing it with the Spider-Man animated series. Same kind of thing with the retro 90s card back. I think it's absolute chef's kiss. I think that's a guaranteed way to get me to open my wallet, because I've been collecting all the action figures for years, but it's got me to double dip on some of them, specifically that they're making them basically look like their counterparts from the 90s era Jim Lee comics / animated series right here. It's the perfect, when I think of X-Men, that this is like my time and frame of memory of reference is like the animated series colorways, the blue and yellow. Obviously X-Men have been around for several decades at this point, and they've changed cast members and colorways and costumes, but when I think of the X-Men, it's always blue and yellow spandex.
Yep.
And the over the top 90s hair. Everybody that had long shaggy hair, mullets, or what have you. It's just perfect stuff.
Do you think we're going to see Hugh Jackman get in the yellow and blue for the next Deadpool?
I mean, I think
his last chance. We got to see it.
I know he knows how important, and also I feel for him too, because it's one of those things like there's really no way to make that not look silly. Mainly the cowl.
I know.
Like the costume, it's the cowl that is like there's no rational reason for him to wear it. Like it just doesn't make any sense. But at some point, I do think he'll don it. The fact that he's coming back for one last Raw, I think the costume gives him an ability to not have to work his ass off as much.
If it's gonna be
in the gym preparing for the role, because like I know the guy hates the work and he puts in way too much work to turn his body into Wolverine.
He's pretty critical of himself too. I remember Wolverine too. He was like, I wasn't big enough.
Yeah, just put a muscle suit on and call it good. You've earned. We know you can do it. Like take a breather, relax.
I feel like if it's gonna be in Deadpool 2, it's like they could even just pull it off for like a second, like as him like almost trying
as a joke.
Yeah, like putting it on, be like no, and then like I mean they already have done stuff like that. Like,
it'd be the perfect tongue-in-cheek, like just silly, haha, and move on. That way we can all get our screen grab and call it good.
Yeah, I definitely want the mask on.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I had to point out in that best contest that none of us won, like the grand prize was the arcade, of course. The secondary prizes was like a VHS catalog with one comic. I'm like, wait a minute, you got all these VHS tapes and all you're gonna give me is one comic? But the 90s animated series, obviously before streaming, before DVDs and everything, like if you wanted to rewatch the show, you either had to legally tape it on your own VHS recordings and fast forward through the commercials, or B, you had this option. You could buy the VHS episodes.
Now, the most successful comic book series in history is on home video.
Marvel Comics X-Men, a heroic band of mutants. They do what must be done, and they do it with style.
They do, don't they?
Do it with style.
Traditional polygram video is proud to offer in this exciting collectible.
Gotta love
series
the
of
voiceover
action
guys.
adventures, featuring the characters you've grown to love and admire as they do battle with the forces of evil. Keep your eyes open for these and more.
Man, those are awesome artwork.
Box art,
yes.
The coolest mutant crusaders in the
So that's another thing.
Figures in it, right?
Yeah, Hasbro's been reissuing figures or making figures and making them cell shaded.
You kept the box of those, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have to.
You can't toss those.
Yeah, can't toss those.
No.
I'll open the box still.
Yeah.
But gotta keep the boxes.
Man, that's good.
Yeah, Mr. G says I hate when they replace the voice actor of Gambit in those last few X-Men episodes. Yeah, that's what.
Oh man, I don't remember that.
One of those, like I said, that was one of those things I was referring to with the last seasons where things were really, they'd already been canceled and not canceled, and things have changed at the end. They kept trying to make the show as cheaply as they possibly could, and they started cutting corners and cutting actors, and is one of those things. Actors are like, "Hey, our show is literally one of the most successful shows in all time animated history. You guys aren't going to pay us," and they're like, "No." So,
seems like a good deal.
Yeah. Okay. The Retro Coops is X-Men Toys is the one I bought the most. I still have most of them, for sure. I had a $5 weekly allowance for doing chores. I'd always spend it on Ninja Turtles, video game rental, and a pack of baseball cards / football cards or whatever. And then I transitioned to buying X-Men action figures with that after I'd kind of amassed a massive Ninja Turtles collection.
And you saved the rest for Fruit Stripes? Gum?
Yeah. All 5 seconds of
flavor.
Yeah. One thing I'd never had though was the awesome play set. This was the the crown jewel of the Toy Biz franchise. This was the Danger Room play set.
Yeah, this made me sad even looking at this footage. I never had this. I don't know why. I didn't try harder.
I don't remember ever seeing it in the store.
I don't either.
I don't know if I've ever seen this either.
The good thing is Toy Biz manufactured the bejesus out of this franchise, and you can find a lot of this stuff still new and packaged unopened for pretty reasonable prices.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
Just saying.
I love that Sabretooth figure, by the way.
It is really good.
When you squeeze, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. G, how many of you have the Pizza Hut X-Men VHS? I know I had 2 of them. I had the first one was Night of the Sentinels, and then I had a different one. I can't remember what episode it was, but definitely did that. Toy Biz Cyclops was my favorite toy because of the light up feature. It's really cool. Like I said, he had that little mini LED in his visor and a little switch on the back. Another awesome setup was the Sentinel action figure. Beware! He's oversized. So that was the coolest thing. He was just scaled.
I love the kids' voices, man.
Ow!
Kid trying to do the rogue accent.
Yeah.
Sentinel robot playset and X-Men action figures. Each sold separately.
But look, I mean, to scale, he's massive compared to the X-Men action figures we already had. So they did a great job on that one. So,
yeah.
Props.
Well, did you ever get the Sentinel Marvel Legends?
Oh, the HasLab one?
HasLab, yes.
Yeah, no, because it was the time it was funding was the exact same time as the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox.
That's right.
I pre-ordered both, and I'm like, I can't afford.
It's a lot of cash. Yeah.
And that's the down thing. It's worth it 100%. And almost every HasLab project that's ever been backed, people go, "Oh my God, it's so expensive," whatever it is. And people say, "Yeah." And then the moment it comes out, people are like, "This is amazing." And then they go on eBay for 2-3 times the value. And people buy them all day, left and right. The Jabba sail barge, it was $400, I think, when it came out. It's $1,400 on eBay nowadays. It's just one of those things you literally have to bite the bullet and say, if you want this, get while the getting's good, because it's only going to double, triple in value.
It's massive.
Mm-hmm.
This big.
Jay Heath says
they have a Galactus as well now, which is pretty sick.
Jay Heath wants to know, are there any Jubilee haters in here? I know. Even as a kid watching the animated series, I was like, "What are her powers again?" She's got sparkle hands.
Yeah,
she can make it 4th of July.
Yeah, like I never understood. I'm like, are they actual fireworks? Are they just like dazzler, like light show display? Like I
said, I'm trying to. I'm having a hard time remembering any like specific storylines. But did she ever do anything to really help?
Yeah,
like distraction, just
pretty much.
That's really the gist of it. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. It was I mean, bad guy says I don't hate her, I guess, but she was pretty useless. I mean, that was the thing. Like
same.
As a kid, I always just assumed she was like there for the relatable youth audience or whatever, because she was the youngest of the group. And I was like, am I supposed to relate to her because I'm a kid and she's a kid? But like, man, yeah, she was just useless.
You gotta give her that. She had a sweet coat and some
she did have a sweet coat. Like her and Gambit
Yeah.
walking around. I mean, granted, at first I was like, why is she wearing a raincoat? But then I was like, oh, it's not a raincoat. It's a leather trench type of duster type of thing. She had some cool, some cool Oakley looking glasses, chewing bubble gum. She had attitude, that's for sure.
She did.
90s attitude.
That was her second power.
Was the
the
attitude.
attitude. Yeah, second power.
Dawn says she was the fish out of water brought into the movie. That role was given to Anne Paquin. Rogue's portrayal in the movies was not good. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
like,
pretty disappointing.
Nothing against Anne Paquin.
I think it was the writing.
Yeah, it's just it was not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jubilee was like the surrogate audience member, whatever you call it, where you're supposed to like see yourself in that character and in that situation, so to speak. Previous episode, we talked about Pizza Hut and we referenced all the tie-ins that Pizza Hut had with the X-Men. But Hardee's also had some pretty sweet tie-ins.
Yeah, they did.
New Build-A combo starting at $2.99. You get more choices: sandwich, drink, fries, or another side dish like coleslaw, baked beans, or side salad.
First of all, when were we getting coleslaw and baked beans at Hardee's? I don't remember that at all.
And fried chicken. No joke. I used to get fried chicken there.
Now the fate of the X-Men is in your hands when you come to Hardee's for authentic Marvel Comics X-Men action figure play sets.
Is this voiced by Mark Hamill, by the way?
It sounds like it.
It really does. Like I'm almost like
Yeah.
questioning my sanity that I was like, did Mark Hamill just voice a Hardee's freaking commercial?
It could have been.
They also had another awesome promo.
Dude, freaking X-Men Pogs. I have those still.
Yes.
I don't know.
Pogs.
Oh, we'll have an episode on Pogs. Don't you worry.
Everything had a.
I still have my X-Men tattoo from Hardee's.
Yes.
Does takes one to know, man. Oh, Mom.
Yeah.
Man, the commercials back then were so good.
I just want to point out the fact that we got a better, more accurate comic portrayal of Mystique from a Hardee's commercial than we did any of the movies.
Why? We're going to get into the movies, but why?
Yeah.
Why do they just have to overcomplicate things?
Don says, we never had Hardee's down here. What? I could have gotten mac and cheese with my burger. That's I've had Hardee's around me my entire life, and I never knew that was on the menu.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do bacon
I substitute the fries with beans.
Yeah. And I remember being like in my teens and trying to wrap my head around the fact that Hardee's was Carl Jr., on other parts of the country. I was like, what's a Carl's Jr.? And my dad's like, it's Hardee's. I'm like, then why don't they just call it Hardee's? He's like, I don't know, son. Don't ask me those.
Yeah.
Don't ask me those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Like Panera.
Sit down. Let me tell you where babies come from.
Panera is St. Louis Bread Company if you go to St. Louis.
Yeah, which, again, ripoff. Like, what?
I don't know why they don't just, if it was originally St. Louis Bread Company, because that's where it started, why not just keep it? The people would probably still go to it in New York, being named St. Louis Bread Company if the food's good.
Retro Coop wants to talk about the Spider-Man X-Men crossover episodes. We'll go into this in further detail when we talk about X-Men, but the animated Spider-Man show, because it deserves its own episode in entirety.
So good.
But you want to talk about the MCU before the MCU? It was the Fox animated powerhouse. It was Spider-Man and X-Men going simultaneously, having crossover episodes. There was an Iron Man animated series. There was a Fantastic Four animated series. There was a lot of great Marvel Comics animated series None of them were as successful as Spider-Man and the X-Men shows, but there was a lot of cool stuff that you could watch. But the X-Men Spider-Man crossover, like I said, X-Men is an awesome team up as itself, but like you were already watching both of those because typically on Saturday mornings it was X-Men. In my neck of the woods, it was X-Men, Power Rangers, Spider-Man, and then it was like a revolving door. That fourth one, it was like the Goosebumps show. It was Eek the Cat. It was Life with Louie. It was
Captain Planet.
Captain. There was always that fourth one. It was never really nailed down. It seemed like it was always the one in the queue that always got canceled and replaced with something else. But there was always
there was
DuckTales,
Mr. Bumpy for a while. Which wasn't
Mr. Bumpy.
Anyone remember Mr. Bumpy?
No,
I don't remember that at all.
Okay, it was
coming
like
next week, Mr.
Bumpy. It was like a claymation thing. It was. I remember. I don't know why I remember.
I gotta look this up.
Oh no, Mr. Bumpy was great though. It was like this claymation-ish type.
It's
thing.
not Gumby. It's not like you're talking about Gumby.
No, and it was like he was like a weird like monster that lived under the bed, but he was nice.
True story.
Okay, I thought everyone watched that. It came on Saturday. It came on Saturday morning with all the rest of the stuff. Maybe it was just my area then. Okay.
Yeah, apparently it was.
If you didn't see Mr. Bumpy, put it in the chat because we gotta get to the bottom of this.
You're
I
gonna
gotta watch this show now.
I'm afraid of what my Google
Is
result.
everything Clay? Yeah, I know. I like it.
I'm gonna get some weird Mr. Bumpy. Hang on for science. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, it's exactly as Jordan is describing, but like, so it was from September 10th, 1994 to December 2nd, 1995. Mr. Bumpy is a small green purple warted monster living under the bed of a 10-year-old boy. Yeah. Eats dirty socks and yeah. Well described. Never, for whatever reason, never saw it in my life.
Okay. I love that. I love that show. It
Rich
came on
D
Saturday
says
morning.
Mr. Bumpy is real.
It came on Saturday morning, like right after Power Rangers. I remember watching it every Saturday.
You said it was dope. All right.
Yeah.
Julian said, yeah, speaking of Spider-Man, I recently picked up the retro carded Spider-Man that was cell shaded. Yeah. Like I said, Hasbro's been killing it with these retro carded Toy Biz era Spider-Man and X-Men figures. If you collect figures, highly recommend them. Check them out. Speaking of figures, let's look at the tail end. Oh, I say tail end. It's not the tail end, but it's the better half of the Toy Biz X-Men action figure releases, because after 95 things start getting really squirrely, and I'll show you some bad examples of that merch coming up.
Hey kid, you think you're an X-Man? Okay, name them.
Go ahead, Joe.
Wolverine, Cyclops, Beast, Gambit, Rogue, Sabretooth, Magneto, Cable, Storm, Professor X, Phoenix, Bishop, Archangel, Apocalypse.
Kid knows the stuff.
He does.
Mr. Sinister, Omega Red, Colossus, Juggernaut, Weapon X, Sword, Longshot, Pyro, Gladiator.
Name them, join them, collect them. The X-Men collection, sold separately.
And I will say, like, by this time, Toy Biz had started reissuing and re-releasing a lot of these characters. Some of them that they did dirty early on, like I said, in those 91 releases. So Wolverine looks so much better. Magneto looks cooler. Apocalypse got beefier. One of my favorite was the original Iceman, because he came in like an ice tray. So you pour water in it and his feet would freeze to like the pegs, and you like crack it, and then he would add this little block of ice and you can slide him around. And we're getting yelled at all the time because I'd be playing with him on the kitchen counter and just be leaving these like wet water trails all over. Mom was like, why is the counter freaking soaking wet? And why is there an action figure in the freezer? I'm like, don't touch him. I gotta get him. I gotta get him back in action. You know?
That's his Iceman, Mom. Duh.
Yeah.
You know. You should know better. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was an awesome figure.
Mm-hmm. Reboot was in that mix. Yeah, that's another one. Reboot was a good show, but they couldn't make it enough. That was like when they were first learning how to do CGI animated programs.
It's
like,
actually the very first full CGI show of all time.
And you could tell that,
Mr.
like,
Bumpy?
No,
they weren't ready to make it as quickly as it needed to be done, because like, all right, here's 6 episodes. We'll be back in 13 months with the other 6. And you're like, wait, what? 13 months in a child's, time span is an eternity.
I do feel like I remember seeing a lot of the same episode reboot a lot.
Paul brings up a good point. Mom and Dad, why are you playing with these toys we bought you? Exactly. Cut me some slack, Mom and Dad. I'm using my childhood imagination, my sense of wonder, merriment. Leave me alone. I could be out, selling smack on the streets, the suburbs of a trailer park. That worked out for Eminem anyway. All right, so now I got to show you some weird merch. So like I said, the action figures started getting really squirrely, but before we get in the action figures, I got to bring up this. I made mention of this off air a while back. I had this hat growing up. I wore the ever living daylights out of it. But one thing that was specifically memorable about this hat is the bill was oversized. So if you ever seen the movie The Sandlot,
I know, yep. The fishing
Smalls
hat that he's got.
walk around. I was Smalls for 2 or 3 years of my life running around with this Wolverine hat. It was pretty sweet. It was, embroidered, had Wolverine, even had like a little logo of him on the side, but it had an oversized bill. And ever since I was a child, I've been wearing my hat backwards. People like to make fun of me now as if I care, but I ran around and even I felt like a goon wearing this backwards because the bill would literally touch the nape of my neck. So I would always wear this forward. It was even worse because it was just like a duck bill that stuck out like a mile long.
It did keep the sun out of your eyes.
It did. Oh, it kept the sun, the moon, the stars, everything out of my eyes. It was amazing that I didn't walk into doorways or anything like that because of this freaking thing. Luckily, it was a safety device.
Patch on the side is sweet. Safety.
I mean, it really is. Yeah. So I had this, and I had this god awful shirt.
No.
Don't know where it came from, but I had this as a kid. I remember it specifically because it was like 2 sizes too big, but it was like it was all I had in the store. Like it wasn't in the kids section. It was like I saw it on a rack. Mom, I gotta have
it. Sweet. I've had way worse.
But like it was almost like a dress on me. But it was the 90s. Everybody wore baggy clothes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and that's pretty on brand with the 90s anyway, with obnoxious printed clothing.
Yeah. You wear that with a pair of what is it?
Jinko jeans. Yeah, there you go. Now you're talking about.
So we'll not be having an episode on that.
No.
We did not do that better.
So have you guys ever wondered what Wolverine smells like? You want to? You want to know? You want to smell like Wolverine yourself?
That's hilarious.
There was also a storm.
There
was also a storm one, but this is your cologne.
Storm makes a little more sense.
But yeah, the Wolverine. I assume it just smells like I don't know, like pine trees and sawdust or something.
Yeah, I just picture a big musky, like it's just a little bit of sweat,
badgers and a BO.
Yeah. Jay Heath says he had the Gambit hat, bought it in 1904, still has the tags on it.
That's
there we
awesome.
go. You know my pain then with how awkward those had. Starter jackets, that's another 90s thing. I definitely had those. I had a Chiefs one and a Charlotte Hornets one for whatever reason. I wasn't even a Hornets fan, but for whatever reason, I think
everyone had that Hornets one.
Yeah, it was like, hey, welcome to 1993. Here's your starter jacket with the Charlotte Hornets logo on it.
I feel like I had this, and I didn't even watch sports that much as a kid.
You guys try to starter jackets? We got the Charlotte Hornets. I guess I'll take it.
Dawn says I'd prefer maple bacon scent. See, that would be all right. Wolverine being Canadian.
I feel like we got to track these scents down and spray them at each other for the episode.
I mean, that's the thing. I doubt. I'm sure it just smells like rubbing alcohol at this point because I'm sure it's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think it's anything
held up
remotely similar to what it was?
Yeah.
Wet dog.
But it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's great.
Jordan, Adam, how excited were you guys to pick up your Ahab action figure?
I don't even remember this, dude. I had tons of these figures.
Yeah. So Toy Biz,
remember this.
Towards the end, they definitely entered that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles realm where they just started making the most obscure, silly characters that no one cared about that were in an animated episode for half a second or something like that. They all got their own dedicated release. Ahab's a good example of that. So as the name suggests, he's a robotic man of the sea. He's got harpoon shooting gun. He's got a freaking robot peg leg.
Shocker that I didn't want to pull this one off the shelf.
I don't even remember.
Is that worth a lot now?
You can get it brand new, unopened for about $14 on eBay.
Wow.
Okay.
Still not tempted, but wow. I did not remember that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Retro Croops' trash toy. Avoided it. Remember seeing it. Yeah, there was a lot of misses in that Toy Biz lineup.
It's hard to see this and not want to flip
hey,
it to the other side.
Brian makes a good point that nobody was off limits and they made figures of everyone. I guess if you did really like that episode with Ahab, like,
yeah, I mean, you got to beat him up. Yeah, there you go.
Dude, that's awesome. I do remember that.
The Wolverine Adventure Van. It's even got a spoiler on top. As you can see, the original retail price was $19.99, so kind of steep, but it did fit your 5-inch Toy Biz action figure. But yeah, it goes forwards and backwards.
Oh yeah,
and it's attached to a cable because.
So you got to move with it.
Exactly.
I think I have this.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think we got it on sale. Shocker.
Yeah. Well, you probably paid that. Was it
the 18 man?
I can't tell if that's $4.99 or $9.99, but either way, it was on sale, and I can understand why. Because
definitely on sale.
I love how it says forward, reverse, turns and reverse. There you go. That's its action figures. It goes forward and reverse. It turns and reverse, but it says nothing about turning and forwards.
Yep.
Okay. The X-Men projectors. So basically, this was as the name suggests, it was a little Viewmaster type of thing. It was put in their chest and a little button on the back of them. You just basically illuminated a animation cell onto the wall with your action figure that had 0 points of articulation. I take that back. 2 points of articulation because the arm swiveled. So yeah, there was about 10 different figures in the projector release. Special.
Yeah, I passed on those.
Yeah, I don't remember those either.
Yep.
And then when you guys think of X-Men, you think of the Water War playset, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's got a squirt gun for crying out loud, and you got Sentinels who are notoriously attacking people in the water because that's what you do when you're a giant freaking electronic robot. You attack people from the ocean.
I'll be honest, this looks slightly familiar. I know I didn't own it.
Yeah.
But I at least saw it somewhere.
You want to know why it looks familiar? Because it was a retool of a Waterworld toy.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Okay, maybe. Yeah.
So this was a common practice. A lot of toy manufacturers, they would repaint and repackage toys from other lineups. So famous Star Wars Ewok Village is Robin Hood's merry band of idiots village for the Kenner toy line. A lot of those type of things. The pizza thrower for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is an Earthworm Jim pizza thrower, as well as a Chicken Run pizza thrower for later on. I mean, a lot of toys got the repackaged.
I'll be honest, I actually think I had the Earthworm Jim pizza thrower
Oh,
and the
sad.
Ninja Turtles.
Okay, as long as you had the Ninja Turtle one. I was about to say, if you only had the Earthworm Jim one. Oh, man. Jay Heath, for all your bathtub adventures, I mean, you got a pretty sweet jacuzzi tub if you got that in there, because this is a big playset.
That's true.
This is about the size of a backpack.
Jordan, I don't know if you've seen Waterworld, but it's pretty awful now. Yeah. At least from the last time I've seen it.
I mean, it hasn't been since the 90s that I've seen it. So.
It still has an awesome, feature at Universal Studios. We're just gonna hang that out there.
Does it?
Yeah.
Where?
Still going at Universal Studios.
Waterworld?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that. No way.
I've never seen that.
See? There it is.
Rhea, what's up? And then we got everybody's favorite X-Men missile flyers, because Wolverine, having all the mutant healing abilities and adamantium claws, he of course needs a mech suit that shoots missiles and has launching bird of prey missile.
Yeah.
Right. And I know this is like a crazy grainy picture that you can't see quality, but the face sculpt detail on Wolverine,
looks awful.
It is beyond awful. Would be a compliment.
It almost looks like a one of the people from Kiss or something, from at least from where I'm looking at it.
Unpainted Kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like Inspector Gadget with a mullet. Is the only way I can. Really
oh man, that's awful.
Yeah.
They must have first thought, hey, we're just gonna put the helmet on it. They're just like, no, let him detach the helmet. They're just like, all right, screw it. Come up with the face real quick. There you go.
And I should remind everybody, these are not even like overseas toys. These are stuff that hit American toy shelves. Then we got the X-Men shapeshifters. So Transformers was obviously popular. And they said, hey, how do we kill, two birds with one stone? We make the X-Men action figures
turn into a car.
Yeah, he's going to turn into a tank, a mutant Titanic tank. And it's
you had that right, clearly.
Yeah, Titanic tank, yep, for sure. But yeah, you literally just took him apart and folded him up, and he looked like a weird tank with a face. He was like Thomas the Train before Thomas the Train was a thing.
Yeah.
They didn't know how innovative they were at the time. Paul says, you can retire if you saved all these toys. Congrats. Yeah. I mean, if you don't mind retiring in a life of poverty. Because like I said, you can buy most of these horrible toys for face value, close to the face value of 1990s still to this day. Another awful side lineup was the Ninja Force X-Men figures. Another horrible head sculpt, but Ninja Wolverine. Because like the guy that literally has freaking adamantium claws coming out of his forearms and hands and skin needs shurikens and ninja weapons to defend himself.
Of course.
Although I will give him credit, he's got his bone claws here, so I mean
that's sweet.
Yeah.
This was pre-adamantium then.
Yeah.
What's going on with his? Oh man, that's awful.
The face.
Oh
the
wow.
Face.
That's way worse than I thought. Basically,
That's what I'm
Quasimodo meets Sloth.
I do love how he's got his ninja shoes on.
Yeah.
But yeah, his face. Ooh.
Dude, it looks like Hippo from Mike Bunch Out. If you get rid of the hair.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
He also has mutton chops. They went like a little too far with the mutton chops.
Yeah.
That's awful.
They were trying to.
That's pretty terrible.
I think they were just going for the Andre the Giant and Princess Bride look.
There you go.
Having a seizure.
Who was a peanut? Who was
Listen, bub. This falls down.
Bad Guy says they remind me of the dying years of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle line. That's 100% what was going on because they just started throwing random amalgamations of things that had nothing to do with the X-Men animated show or the series and title. It just like, hey, let's throw some crap together and see what sticks. What about this? X-Men Mutant Monsters, Werewolf Wolverine with slash and howl action. No takers?
Oh, dude, I have that still. It's awesome. I'm being dead serious, dude.
Hey, I was gonna say, are you?
I had I don't know why. I had a blast with this figure though.
That's awesome. I never saw this in stores, but yeah. Mutant Monsters, Wolverine. He's got claws on the left hand, nothing on the right hand. So,
this was way in the future when his mutant abilities just kept mutating until he eventually became an actual.
They have
Wolverine.
A beast one. Yeah, they have a beast one that a store right next to it still has in box, which is kind of cool. But yeah, they're just really weird.
You should ask how much that bad boy is.
I will. I'll find out. I don't think it's expensive, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I don't expect it to be. X-Men with their monster armor because Rogue needs to be. I don't. It's
now
not a dragon.
Now they took it too far.
Because she's striped.
It's not a gargoyle. It's not the creature from the Black Lagoon. It's.
It looks like a gremlin.
If you want to say Rogue Halloween, I get it, but no.
These are special.
The proportions of the calves now to the thighs.
Yeah, I mean,
quite off.
She did a lot of like leg lifts, but not squats or what.
Rogue, what are you doing? Guys, calm down. It's my monster armor.
Yeah, and I love the fact that she's got wings, even though she herself can fly.
Wow, they were really just pulling for stuff here, weren't they?
They really were. Like I said, it was bottom of the barrel.
I agree, Mister. I love Juggernaut so much.
Oh, he's one of the best represented characters in the movies.
Yep.
I actually cut the movies for time's sake, and we'll talk about those on a different episode because there's plenty of X-Men movies to talk about.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to know whoever owned these. Did they pay full price, or did Grandma pay full price? Because I hope they didn't.
That is very possible. That's a Grandma. I heard him mention X-Men one time. We'll get him this.
Yeah, retro group for hardcore Rogue fans only. Like you've got to be like a super completionist to really start going down that rabbit hole of like, I need the the Monster Armor Rogue, complete my collection. And everybody's like, what? The what now?
That's how many were there? Do you know how many were in that line?
There was, I think, 5.
That's
5. A lot of those lines were very small runs. There were like 5 to 8 releases.
Shocker. Yeah.
Which is good for absolute good reason.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some video games. Let me pull up. So, like I said, we're going to talk about the good video games, not the bad video games. And we're going to start with the video game, the 1992 beat 'em up. Everybody in the chat's played this. I'm willing to bet. We talked about this being the thing that Pride of the X-Men was based upon.
All right,
jazzy
so
intro was awesome.
We talked about people's favorite character. Who is your main playable
who do
character?
you play with?
Yeah.
So I always chose Colossus, but as an adult now, his kick, looking back on it now, is so silly. It looks like a ballet pirouette type of thing. Like he does this weird jump split, but his legs are animated really weird. Wolverine's obviously pretty cool. I picked anybody but Dazzler. Her powers on here is terrible.
Yep.
Wolverine's cool. His mutant power ability is awesome.
How did you do Storm?
Storm's good.
Yep.
Nightcrawler's zigzagging mutant power is awesome. Yep. Paul's never played this game. Oh my, I'm sorry, Paul. Rogue Lyrics as Cyclops was my go-to. He had the range with the beam, so that's for sure.
Go and save the city.
Paul, it might be too late, but you might be able to send us some postcards. I don't know the address. Don't know if they picked a winner yet.
I think it should be mandatory that there was some sort of public. This is who won those competitions, because there were so many childhood send a postcard in and win this thing that I always just who won? I need to know. But man, this game still holds up. It's awesome.
It does.
Takes about 40 minutes to beat tops, and that's if you're just cruising.
Is this your favorite Konami beat 'em up?
I say yes. Just because I love Turtles. Probably, it's just it's so 50-50, but there's so much more aesthetic things going on in the X-Men game than there are the Turtles game.
Yeah, I understand that.
Sense, but as far as characters and enemies or whatever, it's a little more diverse.
Yeah.
Honestly, all the Konami beat 'em ups are stellar, and they're visually pleasing. Great colorways and color palettes for all the characters. It's easy to attract a person's attention, but just the history of the 6-man X-Men cabinet, I think, kind of pushes my love for it as far as the arcade representation, just a little farther ahead of Turtles.
Yeah, you had to play that if you saw that at the arcade.
And it was another fun game where, like I said, you can get a bunch of friends going or people that you never met. It's one of the few games besides Turtles that I got to actually beat in the arcade, because I got to walk up on a group that had made it halfway already, and you just kind of jumped in. And
you guys need an extra?
Yep. You don't even ask. You just throw it in. You're I'm here to save the day. And you're
I'm sure everybody's happy about it too. Yeah.
No one's taking Dazzler yet, right?
Exactly. Yep. Jump in. Dazzler's open. You're
you know what's humorous? There was this arcade bias called Tapcade, and it's $5. Everything's free, and it's weird that these games don't have the same appeal when they're free, which is weird. Yeah, you're just you were just
you just keep going.
Then you're let me switch arcades now. It's still fun, obviously. It's not what I mean.
I get what you're saying. There's you don't
the challenge
feel pressured to win.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I'm about to lose this quarter if I don't.
Yeah, because I can tell you specifically how far I could get as a kid with a quarter of Ninja Turtles. I could beat the first level, and I would die against Bebop on the second.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, that was great for me as a kid, but I knew how far I could stretch that quarter. If you take the quarters out of the equation, then it's okay, well, I'm going to sit there and play this for 40 minutes, and that's how long it's going to take. You don't feel like you have to beat up every enemy, you're more choosy or anything like that. You just go in and smash buttons and you're good to go. Yeah, Mr. G. Rogue got her powers from stealing them from Miss Marvel. Something that is often omitted because it sounds pretty terrible. And it's like, hey, here's a hero that stole her powers from somebody else. This game is also meme worthy because it's got some awful translation. With X-Men Magneto showing up, he's like, "Ha, X-Men, welcome to die. I am Magneto, master of magnet." And you're like, what? See if I can skip to it. Nobody reached a Bob.
It was
very
satisfying
end level-
using Wolverine on this and having the claws go in.
Said I hope Rogue does that to the level comic.
Like the
universe,
last level of this
the
game,
Marvel
you have to
Cinematic
beat
Universe
like
Captain
every
Marvel.
sub-level boss on here, and it's like, oh my god, if you're putting quarters in there, like, who the hell's got the skill to go through that? It's a skill. I said money. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get to Magneto. I love how you can beat them down while they're on the ground too. That was another awesome. Here it comes.
Little blob.
What? Welcome to die.
Welcome to die.
Me feel English? That's impossible. Good stuff.
Me hurt you.
So obviously one of the better games. Like I said, still holds up, still fun to this day. But yeah, without quarters, price of admission, it's just one of those things. You're like, yeah, okay, I'll play it casually.
Yep.
But the comeback appeal, you let that one settle for a couple weeks or months or whatever, and you come back and play it again. You don't play that on a daily basis because of the lack of quarters. Paul says, I want to see a vacuum in Wolverine's hands. That'd be an interesting superpower / mutation.
Are they
next up, we
talking
got
about Simpsons arcade.
Yeah.
He's getting the larges.
Yeah. So 1994's X-Men Children of the Atom. So this was pretty sweet. This was,
Yeah, it was.
Great art style. You got voice acting from the X-Men animated series. Capcom beat 'em up. Limited in the characters a little bit. Small roster. But as far as like representation of accurate comic portrayals and things like that, it was, spot on. Sentinel, Magneto, they're both stupid overpowered in this game.
Yeah, they are.
But that kind of runs across all the games that they're in.
Yep. Mega Red's ridiculous in this game too, actually.
Yeah. I do like the lineups though. Like the playable characters, good and bad. It's a good, solid, well-rounded lineup.
Yep.
Ice Beam. And I love that Apocalypse, like, your final boss in the main story, or the, single player, so to speak. Got this on Sega Saturn. That was the best home port, obviously available on PlayStation 1, but I as well had it on Sega Saturn because I was a Sega fanboy. Great stuff.
Their ports were always the best. I mean,
yeah, they were spot on.
Yeah, same with Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Well, Sega's always been the arcade console.
Yeah, Sony was like, yeah, sure, we'll port it, and then just like just throw some spit and polish on it, and without the polish, just spit on it.
Remember in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the Xbox and PS2 versions were a little rough.
Yeah, there you go. But they almost make you buy a Dreamcast. They're like, oh, here's that game you remembered with terrible representation.
Oh yeah, dude. X-Men vs. Street Fighter.
Yeah.
My first game experience with that was at a hotel. I went to Orlando, and then I went down there. Yes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter.
Oh.
And I was down there, and I was like, whoa! And I spent a long time down there playing that. It was incredible.
1994 also gave us this gem. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse for the Super Nintendo. Good old side-scrolling beat 'em up. Jazzy music.
Mm-hmm.
Simple gameplay mechanics. What's not to love? So X-Men and Clone Wars for the Sega Genesis. Also decent games. But honestly, I think this one's better. And that's saying a lot, considering I'm a Sega fanboy. I owned both the X-Men Genesis games, X-Men and X-Men Clone Wars, but when I played this at a friend's house that had a Super Nintendo for the first time, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
You got the better deal on that one. Plus, it had a good roster. Like, as far as playable characters, like, you got Betsy Braddock, a.k.a. Psylocke here.
Man, the art style was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, she's showing some cheeks there when she does that little spin.
She is.
Sweeps the leg. Sweeps my heart when, 10-year-old Doug's playing this game.
Yeah, one of my favorites, I didn't put it on here, was X-Men Legends 2, Age of Apocalypse. That was another one of my favorite X-Men games.
Yep, fantastic one.
But a lot of that
it's not an X-Men centric game. The Marvel Ultimate Alliance games are all pretty awesome in my opinion.
Yep.
Good old X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. And you're going there killing all the Brood. Like, as far as comic storylines go, like, you got some really cool comic references in this game. So highly recommend it. Check it out. Fire up the emulator or your Super Nintendo. 1994's X-Men Mutant Apocalypse.
It's a good one.
And then, as we referenced earlier, 1996, the continuation, aka spiritual successor to Children of the Atom. You got X-Men versus Street Fighter. Which I will say, Marvel versus Street Fighter felt like literally the same game as this to me.
Yeah,
especially with the lineup of the roster, because it was like, yeah, you changed like 4 characters and you put a new title on it. It's the same game. I mean, that bit right there with Ryu and Cyclops shaking hands, though.
Yep,
it's pretty sweet.
That was a solid handshake.
Yep. It's like, look at me in the eyes. It's like, you don't want that.
Yeah, Kumo's pretty good in this game.
Yep. He's always my go-to in this game, even though it's an X-Men centric game. It's just, he's overpowered. He's got a very well-rounded skill set. Everybody always like defaults to Ryu or Ken, and I'm like, why would you ever go with those when Akuma is them times 2?
Oh, you think I'm jumping in on you? No, Kuma's super.
Teleport, yeah. Teleport. Oh, wait, I'm going to hit you with a Hadouken at an angle? That's right, suck it. Oh, good stuff.
Oh, man, I love Rogan in this game, too.
Yep. Dulzum. Thanks for playing. It's like, Dulzum, the only reason you exist is to be a counter to the Ken and Ryu players of the world.
Yep.
That's literally the only... Again, Magneto being overpowered as always.
So good.
It's like, oh, hey, I've got range, I've got flying attacks, I've got counters.
I got riblets.
Yeah. You want to attack me? Well, good luck, because you can't get anywhere near me on screen. Cammy with her freaking kicks from across the screen as well. So, like I said, some of the ranges on some of these characters as far as their attacking, brutal. Yeah, sprite swap, dirty little gaming studio secret. Yeah, which is why you got it the Marvel versus Street Fighter a year later, because they've spent so much time developing that game from the ground up. But I love that we got, voice actors from the animated series.
This game's so good.
It is. Somebody saw our subconscious love of X-Men and Street Fighter, and bam. Yeah, it was, I mean, it's a recipe for, video games and nerddom. It's like, hey.
Doug, did you have any of the action figures from this line?
I did. They came in 2-packs, and they were pretty sweet.
They were.
I've since, lost them to time, and I've thought about recollecting them over the years, because they hold up and they look great, especially when you assemble them, line them up together. I'm probably going to go down that rabbit hole.
Dude, they're really good figures, even like for back then. The cloth material, and it had the
the downside is some of the more appealing, like Juggernaut. I know he's a pricey combo. Some of them are like way up there, and some of them are dirt cheap. So it's like one of those things, like they almost get you. They're like, oh hey, the price of admission is low, and they're like, but completing the set is high.
Yep.
So it's like,
Yeah, you know we're talking about build a figure.
Yep. Look at you. It's like, oh, hey, you only want 2 out of the 5? Well, too bad. The build a figure's too sweet. Yeah. So those, in my opinion, were some of the best X-Men centric games of the 90s. Like I said, there was a lot of X-Men mutant games out there. Not all of them good. Looking at you, every LJN Nintendo game ever made, they were just terrible. I remember being so mad.
The company of that,
yeah, so
like
mad renting the Wolverine game for NES and bringing that home and going, "The hell is this? This game sucks."
Hey, one game they shocked me on was Maximum Carnage.
Oh,
which I still love.
Yeah, so one of the best Sega Genesis games, one of the best storyline games, best beat 'em up games of the 90s. Even had a sequel, Separation Anxiety, not as good, but Maximum Carnage, Sega Genesis version is superior just because of the better sound, but it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. Yeah. All right, so I've got one little bit left, and this is going to be a bit of a... Actually, before I do that, we got 2 more questions for the audience and you guys. And then we'll play our last little bit, which is Guess Who, where we have Jordan, maybe Adam, guess a X-Men character when I show their picture and read about their powers, and you try to guess what their name might be. But before we do that, I want to know, everybody in the chat, what is your favorite comic storyline? So it doesn't have to be old, doesn't have to be new. My personal favorite is by Chris Claremont. It is God Loves Man Kills. I've got a copy of it that I got signed by Chris Claremont, Planet Comic Con in Kansas City a couple years back. Fantastic writer, some of the best storylines ever written. Days of Future Past, that's one of his creations. It's prolific X-Men writer for a long run in the X-Men comic franchise. That is my personal favorite X-Men story of all time. Do you guys have one?
Yeah, so this is gonna be a weird one because I was Days of Future Past obviously loved, but I really got into Age of Apocalypse, like huge. Because when it first came out, when it came out, like I said, I just read every new issue coming out with my dad, and I just got really into that. Just it kind of similar thing where you're talking about a what if sort of thing, but it was just, I don't know. Yeah, but I got really into that.
I did not have a favorite. I actually don't think I ever read any of the comics. And like I said, it's been so long since I've watched the show. Like as a kid, that I don't think I could recall.
Just tonight, specific. Keep the intro on repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jay Heath says Civil War. I love that one as well. That's literally like one of my favorite comic storylines across any franchise, because it did cross every franchise, and that's what's so unique. The amount of like fallout from that storyline, like so many things happen. Like Peter Parker reveals his identity to the world, and the X-Men split up, and Hulk gets sent on to outer space to start the Planet Hulk storyline, and there's so many cool things that happen in the storyline of Civil War. It's one of those things, like I was always amazed that like no one had like touched on the idea of like what happens if the superheroes have to tell everybody who's under the mask type of thing. Retro Coop says I read the digital version a few years ago. Pretty good story for sure. Peter David, Incredible Hulk, Future Imperfect. That's a good one. I've read that one. Good stuff. All right, so let's play a little game of Guess Who. So let me import the pictures.
Does your character have a mustache?
So you're gonna wish. You're gonna wish. So I will preface this by saying these are not mainstay characters by any means. They've come and went, and some lasted a little while longer than others. But these are all mutants on the side of the X-Men. Could have went down the rabbit hole of the villains just as much, but
these aren't characters we should know off.
No. Okay. Like no, I'm a super fanboy when it comes to comics and X-Men. I only knew a few of these.
Okay.
So I don't expect anybody to honestly know any of these.
Okay. That's more fun.
But yeah, but that's part of the appeal here. So make sure I got that. No, I don't want to share my entire screen. I'm trying to share the tab. Apologies. Window. There we go. All right. No, it's going to do it anyways.
Ooh, mirrors.
Yeah, that's not working. Let's try this again. It's being cantankerous. Sometimes it does this. There it is. All right.
Ooh, yeah, I don't know this.
So let me give you some background on this character, and then you can kind of try to piece together.
Chest.
Okay, so his mutant power, he has the ability to shoot golden orbs out of his body. So
yeah,
try to take a guess. What is
Orby?
What is
I'm gonna
his
say,
name might be? You say Orby?
Yeah.
I'm a sun rays.
Matthew says not so action man. Jordan says sun rays.
That's much better, Jordan.
Oh, it's better.
Yeah. I was really hoping they were basketballs, and he got his powers by like falling into a vat of like gym shorts that someone had recently drank some toxic waste or something. So like the sweat from the gym. That would be actually this. I want to go with this. We can.
Bad guy Mike says dodgeball man. Sun-kissed man. Orby man. Ping pong Sphero.
Yeah, I like that.
Another one for dodgeball. All right, so his name is Gold Balls.
Of course.
Gold Balls.
You got to go
the
through
character
obvious.
that shoots golden orbs out of his body is named Gold Balls.
Should have went with my first instinct.
I love how it's so on the nose. It's like, hey, what's your mutant ability? Oh, I shoot gold balls out of my body. Oh, cool. What's your name going to be? What's your code name going to be? Yeah, call me Gold Balls.
Yeah.
When you get in a tight pinch, just hit your excommunicator. Call for Gold Balls. Call in the Gold Balls.
It's good.
All right. Here's the next image. So his power is he has about 4 to 6 feet of extra elastic skin at his disposal. He can compress the extra flesh or use it to grab, swing, wrap, and probably even jump rope with it.
Oh, man, that's a tough one.
And obviously this is an akin to Mr. Fantastic. Not a direct ripoff, but similar concept. Stretch Armstrong, if you will, type of mutant abilities. Except he obviously needs to take some collagen supplements because he's got some dead hanging
So,
skin
I mean, we just
issues.
had gold balls. I mean, do we have Scrotum Skin Man?
I was going to say Captain Stretch.
Captain Stretch. I love how you already assigned him rank of captain, as if
we're just trying to make it sound official.
Yeah, it's the chain. It's the chain.
Yeah.
He's a war hero, damn it. Jakey, what the hell? Rogue says, Handy Andy.
Definitely don't think it's Scrotum Skin Man.
Liposuction Man. You got Elastic Man 2099. That was another thing that we didn't even touch. The Marvel obsession with the futuristic 2099 rebranding of everything. Yeah, so many mutants at one point got played out. It's why Scarlet Witch killed them all in House of M. That's another fantastic storyline, by the way, House of M. It doesn't sound like a kind of superpower you brag about. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like a lot of the mutants, there was mutants that had awesome powers, and there's a lot of them that had, not so awesome powers. And that was the kind of the underarching theme of the X-Men, their plight to try to make mutants accepted in society.
Yeah, I got a new name.
Uh-oh.
Dermatologym.
Dermatologist.
Is that JYM or JIM?
JIM.
Okay,
His name was Jim.
All right.
He was a dermatologist, and that's why.
Okay.
Oh, saggy whoa. Oh, wet Mark. Whoa, hang on. So Retro Coop wants to know how I feel about the recent House of X and Powers of X. I enjoyed both storylines. I thought it was a nice little refreshing of the brand, so to speak, because things get stagnant storyline wise in the comics. But this is another on the nose to answer everybody. His name is Skin.
Skin.
Just Skin.
Yeah.
Not Mr. Skin, not Super Skin, not Foreskin, just Skin.
Captain.
Not Captain Skin.
Not Cadet.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Great.
All right.
I saw that
so,
one guy stuck in your head that had the peg leg that was a toy.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Ahab?
Yeah.
Ahab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain Ahab. Arr. All right.
Yes. Is this Ron Weasley as an X-Men?
Yeah, this isn't real. This is
No, this is real. So, as a member of the X-Men, this kid had to wear a super-powered armored suit to protect himself and those around him, essentially making him the bubble boy of the X-Men. While all other mutants around him used their powers at will, he had to be set aside, not using his, waiting for his one and only moment to shine. His power, wait for it, self-destruction.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was something like that.
I just want to know what his voice sounded like in a act like who you'd pick to voice him. Hey guys,
Yeah.
Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Self-destruct.
I go boom. That's his name.
I go boom. All right. So I will give you some more information about this character. There was a storyline called "The Worst X-Men Ever" that was solely based on his entire existence. So when I said his power is self-detonation, it's a one-time use only power. He doesn't regenerate.
So he himself actually dies.
Correct.
That's unfortunate.
That is very
How does he even know he has this power?
This is a great question.
That's a good question. That is a great question.
Like the guy in Mystery Man, it's like when you go invisible.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. Retro Coop says the redheaded stepchild, power of neglect.
Oh man. It
Exploded boy?
the boy from this story.
Problem child? He does look like Problem child.
They're actually a scut Farkas.
Yeah. All right.
Boy
so here we go.
So his name is actually Bailey Hoskins.
No.
Yep. That is his name. Bailey Hoskins, aka the worst X-Men ever. It's a funny / sad read. Definitely check it out. It's called The Worst X-Men Ever story.
Is it safe to say Bailey didn't make it?
Yes. Yes.
So
Spoiler alert.
Hold on. In this storyline,
he saves the day, but he
in this storyline, did the rest of the X-Men know about this power? And they were like, "We're gonna stick you in this suit so you can't blow up yet, and at the right time, we're gonna throw you out there bomb and take it off of you so you blow up."
It's
basically
pretty messed up, right? Right?
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Bailey Hoskins.
Bailey Hoskins.
He looks like a Bailey, right?
He
So he didn't even get an actual superhero name. He just stayed with Bailey. I was gonna say Timmy earlier, and saying that he didn't even get a name, but
is there a hospital named after him?
Could be. I love that he gets an official X-Men uniform with pouches. Don't know what he's going to put in those pouches because what the hell is he going to do?
He picks locks too. That's just a little side gig he does.
He's got some candy in there to keep him happy while he's
That
waiting
is
to blow
great.
up.
That's
Good
fantastic.
old Bailey Hoskins. All right, next one.
All right.
So this one, oh man, you're gonna love this one. His mutant ability, he tags people, which causes them to emit a signal that makes everyone else run away.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, when you're sitting there fighting, I don't know, apocalypse and the world's at stake, this guy tags somebody and they emit a supersonic sequel or sound that makes them go, "I don't like this," and they run away. So
tag team.
You're it.
Yeah, I like you're it better.
This is another on the nose name. I'll give you a hint.
All right.
Tagman.
Yeah, that's
close. Shorter.
High five.
Tag.
There you go. His
Yes.
name is Tag.
That makes 6 sense. Oh, Tag.
Can you imagine like how
You're
much
it.
of a
I like you're it. They should have gone with you're it.
Should have. No tags. That would be no name. No tag backs.
just I love how much of a liability a lot of these people are for the team or any circumstance
tag,
whatsoever.
yeah.
It's like I get that the Xavier School wasn't necessarily original, like, hey, let's form superheroes. It was actually supposed to be just a school for people that had gifts that were different. That makes sense. But how somebody conned old Tag into joining the team and going out there in a dangerous mission with a skill set like that.
I feel like I feel like someone needs to make some funny videos on this where all the actual X-Men are all together, and he's like, "You did a good job today, man," and puts his hand on Wolverine's shoulder, and everyone else starts running off. Like,
yep. Huh.
Is that true? That
I didn't put my deodorant on, bub. Yeah.
That Cyclops ordered that kid. What's his name?
To blow up.
Yeah, is that true?
Bailey Hoskins.
Yeah, Bailey.
What if he bumps into someone at Walmart? Everyone just runs. I don't. Maybe he can turn it on or turn it off. But I mean, the only time that's good is like if he's like at a sporting event, waiting in line at the John or something. Like, and he's like, "Hey, piss off!" Literally.
You have to run away from him, correct?
Yeah. Apparently,
that's awesome.
Okay, so not a really good explanation of that power set, really. But
yeah.
I like that. Tech's a good one.
All right. And the last one of the evening.
Oh, man.
I want to get extreme.
All right. So keep that in mind. So his mutant ability is he can essentially make an enemy's blood combust, burning them alive from the inside out, which sounds awesome.
It does.
Sounds cool. Sounds handy, right? But wait, here's the caveat. To do that, though, he has to get oxygen into the blood by cutting his opponent open. So in order to inflict harm, he must inflict harm.
So yeah.
So to do
damage, have
damage,
like an X-Acto knife with him at all times.
Damage.
So by the time
he's got a goatee and
pretty
braids,
much already did the job anyway.
Exactly.
So what does going extreme mean for this character?
Said it's Jay from Jay and Silent Bob.
Pretty accurate. With the goatee. Okay.
So yeah, he can boil your blood from the inside and kill you, but first he has to cut you open.
I'm going with boil.
Okay.
He looks like a boil.
All right.
Extreme heat.
Extreme heat. You're gonna love this one. I saved the best for last. His name is Adam X.
That would have been my second guess.
Yeah. The X obviously stands for extreme because he wants to get extreme.
Good old Adam X.
That's unfortunate, Adam X. Yeah, it sounded like such a cool power.
It looks like me. I don't grow the facial hair, but yeah, I can almost see that. I have almost blondish eyebrows.
That's your Halloween costume for next year, Adam X.
Yeah.
Everyone will
I'll
love
spend
it.
the entire evening trying to explain my powers.
No, you don't understand. First,
you
don't
understand. And they're just like, just shut up and say your tagline. I'm like, all right, fine. I want to get extreme.
Isn't there already oxygen in people's blood?
Jordan, you're thinking too far into it. Just kidding.
Again,
I thought the metal arms would have something to do with it, right?
It's not even metal arms. It's just his like outfit.
That's unfortunate.
Well, it does kind of look like
metal bangles, but fingerless gloves.
Yeah.
I just want to know, like when he goes extreme.
How extreme?
Yeah.
What are the limits to the extremity?
Yeah, that was good.
All right. So
there it is.
On a final note, I'm going to play this one last time just for good measure. Send us on home with the X-Men animated intro one last time because we got to wash the bad taste of all those awful X-Men out of our mouths and refresh and go out on a high note with this. So good.
Oh man.
Like the metal stamp and everything. It's flawless. It's absolutely flawless. Like I said, every episode is viewable on Disney Plus. X-Men, Pride of the X-Men, Kitty Pryde pilot series that came before that. It's on YouTube. Go check it out. Any last remarks, closing thoughts you guys have on X-Men?
No, it's just incredible. I mean, there's nothing else to say. Look at the costumes. You couldn't pull it off in real world, but you can in the cartoon. So we're gonna end with that. You can try though.
I love this.
Try.
That X2 was probably the best of all X-Men. Really, no, just
Can you be Bailey Hopkins? What's his name?
Bailey Hoskins.
Bailey Hoskins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Matthew
All
says,
right.
couldn't convince my younger self to be into Mohawk chicks, but now that I've seen some things, I would definitely go there nowadays. Yeah.
There you go.
Everybody needs a storm in their life, right? Rogue Lyric says, this YouTube show is amazing. Great work, guys. Looking forward to the next one. I appreciate that greatly.
That's right. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Does anyone know who the DC Spider-Man ripoff is? That's right, because there is always some sort of mirrorverse version of almost any character you can think of on both sides of the coin, whether it be DC, Marvel. I know there is one. I can't think of him. But yeah, I'm sure there is. Like the closest, man, it's like probably like an Arachnaman or something stupid like that. You know, it's like so close to legal documents being sent, but not quite.
Yeah, I can think of the DC version would be.
I can't think of any DC spider heroes, you know?
I'm sure there
Or
is,
even
but
villains.
obviously it didn't grab hold because there's like 20 variations in the Marvel universe and they're all awesome. So anyways, future episode, we will talk about the the Spider-Man animated series, because just like the X-Men, it was awesome. Had an awesome toy lines, had awesome promotional tie-ins, video games, basically everything we talked about tonight. We can say the same thing about Spider-Man, and we will on a future episode. But until then, hope you guys all have a wonderful evening, and see you guys on the next episode next Monday. Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.